Welcome, my friends, to Hotek's Column, the Forge of Vaul, where the High Priest of the Elven God of Smiths turned cloak during the first years of the Sundering and crafted the mighty rune-forged armor of Midnight for the Witch King himself. And this epic custom siege map is under assault from the forces of the Undead, as Vlad von Carstein and the followers of Nagash have descended on an incredibly defensible underground fortress deep in the heart of Nagaroth. And as Armageddon draws nigh, as Morslib consumes the night sky with its baleful glow, Shaiish is rising, and the restless dead are ascendant once more. The only thing standing in their way, rather uneasy alliance between the sundered cousins of Ulthuan, Lord Master Teclis of the High Elves, and Mother Marathi of the Dark Elves, lending their magical might to a cause that seems hopeless. But the fate of these ancient races rests in the hands of the players. So let's craft a new story for the end of all things, or the beginning of something new. And I think the Azur and Druki would rather it be something new. Being ruthlessly murdered and brought to unlife to serve as one more cog in a sterile, lifeless world sounds pretty dull, and upon the return of Nagash, that is exactly what he wants for the entire planet. So I guess the question is, what would he do if he were able to accomplish that goal? Take off into space with the Black Pyramid and become a Necron in 40k, or weep, for there were no more worlds to conquer? Well, we'll be one step closer to figuring that out. If the Undead can crack this nut, the Sisters of Avalorn were certainly not having a good time. Neither will these Dark Shards, as the Vargheists completely overwhelm them on top of the first rampart. But this is an incredibly defensible fortress all the way through, layered all the way to the back, with powerful Phoenix Guard and Black Guard of Nagaron, Dread Spears, High Elf Spearmen, a lot of archers, a lot of monsters, dragons, everything that makes Warhammer what it is. And it is going to be an epic, incredibly fun siege. So I hope you guys can join me for a very long one. It's not every day we get to see a 38-minute long siege battle on Total War Warhammer 2. So strap in, ladies and gentlemen, it's gonna be a good one. Now, the map was created by Seisamar, who also created Zlanwapek, the City of Mist, that I covered in another replay. Really good one there, too. You should check it out. Super talented map designer. Love seeing their stuff. But as you've already seen from the layout, there are 3 causeways leading to 3 separate gates surrounding the lava chamber in the center of the map. But the western gate is under the most pressure early, as the Devils of Schwarzhofen touch down with the Phoenix Guard, the Silent Guardians of the Shrines of Azurian, and Cryptors try to bust through the Azur Spearmen. And it's cool to see the Bat Boys in action. Never really get to see Vargheists in competitive multiplayer, because they're kind of bad, but as you saw, their tool set is completely different, and actually very useful in sieges, where they have the punching power to kind of quickly smash through most units making their home at the top of the ramparts, or on a wall, or near a gate. And so, being able to fly over the top of the wall, deliver that quick strike with a really powerful charge and get out is really useful, and so they really helped out on that side. But the Sisters of Avalorn are firing into the Claw of Nagash Mortis engine right now, and the dragons are on the prowl as well, as the battering ram moves up to the gate, and the rest of the Vampire Count siege equipment moves towards the ramparts. Now, this should be a really interesting engagement. A lot of powerful units kind of descending on the gate right now, and it'll be a scrum early on. Now, one of the important things about these kind of sieges, as the Carrion try to tie down the Sisters of Avalorn and the Dark Shards, and we even got some Graveguard already disembarking from the siege towers on both flanks of the gate, is that you don't want to just throw all your units into the beginning engagement, right? You don't want to keep them all by the wall, by the rampart, by the gatehouse. It's just not that fun. It makes for really boring sieges, and yeah, we could do that. It would be more competitive that way, but it would kind of suck to have everything just die right there and the entire battle be determined there. So, as Vlad von Carstein, we get a good look at him moving behind his undead army. God, that is so cinematic looking. This map is so good. But yeah, just want to make sure that there's a good layered defense here, which is beneficial tactically, because it means a well-placed win to death, or Purple Sun Azirius can't send literally the entire army to another realm. But it's also better from a cinematic perspective, because what the hell is the point of playing on a map this gorgeous if all of the fighting happens at those initial choke points, and we don't get to see the rest of it? Kind of defeats the purpose, right? And so an important part of this strategy, layering your defense, is trying to figure out which unit should be first onto the breach. You don't want to send too many elites up there, because that's where the heaviest concentration of magic will be, trying to make that initial push to establish a foothold in the settlement. But if you send too many crap tier infantry up there, they're not going to kill anything, and your most powerful positioning advantage, and maybe the entirety of the map, will have been wasted. So, lots to think about. Dark Elves have basically ceded control of the southernmost gate to Arkhan the Black and the followers of Nagash. Witch Elves getting shish kebabbed right now, and instead they've elected to defend a little bit further back, a heavier defense further inside the Forge of Vaul. And so, you saw that fly through from the beginning. There are some amazing choke points in elevated positions back further inside the city that defenders can take advantage of. Even room for cavalry charges too. Even room for Hyro Titans stomping through the middle of the fight. So maybe one of those maps that actually the walls aren't necessarily the strongest feature of the defense, because there's a lot of really great defensible positions back there. And as the Claw of Nagash busts its way through the gate right now, being incredibly obnoxious, being incredibly loud, as it is wont to do, I think that kind of layered defense here, we've actually got a really nice Doom Bolt coming down on top of a Grave Guard on top of the wall. That's going to do some damage because it really blobbed up. Nice cast right there. Yeah, that way that Dark Elf architecture is very focused on choke points and very focused on defensible positions where you can kind of fall back further inside the city. It's very true of the lore as well, their city planning in general. In a lot of the novels like Malice Darkblade, you can see that, sure, they've got strong walls, they've got well-trained soldiers to man them, but once you get inside, it's a maze. It's these killing corridors after killing corridors, just filled with murder holes and traps and narrow causeways that make it a complete nightmare for attackers to even figure out where they're going, much less conquer the settlement. That's illustrated really well in a few of the Black Library novels, and it's definitely going to hold true here to an extent as well. But the Tomb Kings are straight through, chain lightning onto a big blob of Graveguard and Undead, and the Dragons are trying to goon that Mortis engine right now up against the wall, pinned right there. But the Tomb Kings are opening fire into the aerial superiority of the High Elves, and that's important because those armor-piercing shots are going to do quite a number on even Star Dragons, even with their high armor. I mean, their AP, it's going to go right through, and we got a Hand of the Gods, or rather a Shem's Burning Gaze from the Hyro Titan 2, trying to provide a little bit more support against Morathi, who's flying over the top, on top of her Dark Pegasus Sulafet. But those dragons are taking a lot of damage right now. Maybe a little bit of friendly fire from the Murderous Prowess Dark Elves, and that's already popped this early on. Not really ideal from the defender's perspective, but those dragons will have to retreat. I mean, they're gooning the Mortis engine, but they're not doing quite enough damage, and all those AP missiles just soaring right into them, hitting them in the flank, doing a lot of damage, and Vargeist now even coming in to reinforce. Sulafet can't really fight those in the air by herself. She'd do some damage there, but I mean, Vargeist, when they're gooning on top of a Lord, especially when it's squishy as Morathi, it gets real scary. So the dragons will retreat, and in the purple glow of what looks like Warpstone, it's like purple Warpstone, some kind of Dark Elf stuff right there. We've got a Star Dragon Breath directly into the Mortis engine. Strawberry Milkshake, taste that, and it's going to go down. And the Mortis engine is already dead. Claw of Nagash off the field early on. Soul Stealer and Chain Lightning. And this is what I mean when I'm talking about a heavy concentration of magic at the initial opening engagements here. I mean, it's where everything gets blobbed up. It's where you want to use those vortexes. But the Sword Masters of Hoeth are in for a rough ride right now. Vargeist in the fight. Thorshard's Ancestors of Avalon getting some good shots in. But, I mean, think about how many... I mean, they've got local superiority, right? They've got tons of undead just streaming forward, vastly outnumber the defenders at this portion of the battlefield, and they're going to have to start retreating a little bit and get further back in to maybe find a better location to set up and start shooting into the enemy. On this side, same thing, Cryptors, and now the Hex Race charging in. There's not a lot of magic damage on this side. Morathi and Teclis are on the other gate right now, at the eastern gate, focusing on Vlad's army and the Tomb Kings, and so the vampire counts on this side are deployed at the western causeway. They're able to push through and start streaming into the next defenders, but Dread Spears are ready to receive that charge. Phoenix Guard right behind them, and that will be a very stalwart defense. They might not be able to do a ton of damage by themselves to stuff like Hex Race, but certainly won't allow Hex Race to get through very easily either. And now, drums in the deep, they are coming. Here comes the retreat, and it's going to be a hellish one for those unfortunate enough to have been tasked with defending those causeways initially. I mean, it was a foregone conclusion, right? Especially with a skeleton crew that the Dark Elves left behind to the main southern gate. But as soon as those Tomb Kings broke through, Dark Elves were not going to be able to hold them back. They rolled right up on the eastern gate's flank, and now it is D-Day for the Azur. It's like one of those scenes from like a war movie where dudes are on the beach holding their intestines out and they're like screaming, "Mama!" That's where these Sword Masters are right now. They're not having a good time, and it's not going to be much better for the Black Guard waiting in reserve as the Ushabti Great Bows open fire into them. Now, yes, you will probably notice a few times this game where certain portions of the map have janky or minimal collision, meaning units can actually fire through what look like solid objects, and just ignore it. I mean, it doesn't happen often. They made a rule early on to immediately stop doing it as soon as anyone noticed it, so yeah, a few stray shots here or there will arc their way through cover, but just think of it as like a high-velocity round with some extra oomph, some extra blessing from a soft. And honestly, I could totally see Warhammer mages and craftsmen creating weaponry that can easily pierce through mundane stone walls. So maybe not so ridiculous, at least not from a Warhammer perspective. That's going to be my headcanon anyway. And the Blackguard will hold the line here, immune to Psych, immune to all the terror that's coming their way, but the Hydro Titan is taunting them as the Dark Shards get their first volleys into them. Maybe a bit of friendly fire on that Vargeist too. But he's just standing there, looking at them, taunting them for a second, but soon that Construct is going to get into the thick of it, and with the Charybdis now chopping into his flank, huge monster mash going on now. Dread Spears pushing forward too, and look at this assault from the Tomb Kings. They are going balls to the wall here, balls deep, and shifting over. Let's take a look at what's going on over there. Now, looks like a Casket of Souls opening fire into the Pure Main Company White Lions. Some Doomfire Warlocks in reserve, Senescience Harvesters, another Doom Bolt going down on a big blob of Tomb Guard. Hex Race also pushing up now, and the Charybdis, another one munching on some Cryptors. That is exactly the kind of engagement it wants to take, and on this side, it doesn't look like there's much actually that can do a whole lot to the Charybdis, so you might have a field day out here, at least killing those monsters. But there is some healing from that Corpse Cart right there, and shifting back over Sisters of Slaughter and some Dread Spears. Might want to retreat from that Hydro Titan who made it through the Blackguard and is now getting even deeper inside the settlement here. Maybe trying to roll up on the other flank, and actually, yeah, they can't really afford to retreat right now, because if they do, then the Hydro Titan can go get in behind those Phoenix Guard and Dread Spears holding the other gate, and then roll that other flank with the help of the Hex Race. So, yeah, they're going to hold the line here, and they might not be able to bring it down by themselves, but there are dragons on Overwatch. There is more support coming in, and they might be able to help. More spells going off. Tomb Guard getting the very useful Realm of Souls ability. I believe that's stage 2. So they're going to get some healing right now. Hex Race into the thick of it. Charybdis, I don't know if he wants to stick around there. That might not be his favorite engagement ever. But look, over the magma, over the flowing lava, here comes the Air Force. Here come the dragons into the flank of the Hydro Titan, which will unleash some of his own magic. And here we go with that Holy Brazier going off. We've got 2 dragons and a Hydro Titan fighting it out, and that Hydro Titan looking a little bit worse for the wear. Now, when you see that sliver of HP, that is very different than other units, right? Because it's a construct, so it's not going to just immediately disappear. It's not going to rout from the field. It will fight to the end. It's not crumbling yet. Not disintegrating anyway. But it also is a Hydro Titan, so it has a massive amount of HP. Same with that Necrosphinx, the Sphinx of Usek, and that will also munch through a battle line. And now things get very scary for these dragons that are engaging the Hydro Titan, because not too far away, that monster killer, that heroic killing blow, scything blade construct is coming their way. And yeah, they're gonna nope the hell out of there if they can. Sun Dragon trying to get away from those Cairn Wraiths, but finally, Hydro Titan has gone down, crumbles into the dust, smashes a few unfortunate Dread Spears on the way down. But let's take a look at what's going on here. So, both dragons have taken a lot of HP damage so far, but Morathi, she is a great lord for this kind of battle, because she just has so much sustain with that power from darkness. Any unit that routes from the field, she can just get some more winds of magic. And we got a Vortex coming down now, Chain Lightning, and that could have been glorious from Teclis. But even in these siege battles, you can still sometimes see the problems with Vortex spells, the fact that you can't control which direction they go, and veering off into the sunset, into some godforsaken realm, that Chain Lightning will do very little compared to what it could have done if it had gone just a little bit more to the left and hit those Tomb Guard behind. Now some more Dark Shards firing in, and the Noble and Teclis waiting in reserve right now. They're going to just try to bide their time, get some spell casting off when they can, make sure that each one of those count. And unfortunately, that Chain Lightning, the fact that it missed, hurts, because each one of those is one you really want your Winds of Magic for, to really do some crazy amounts of damage to the attackers. And it's not happening right now, But the corpse cart, in the thick of it, dealing with some Sisters of Slaughter, dealing with some routing dread spears, and those are Shabti great bows, the chosen of the gods, with some really powerful armor-piercing shots from long range, ripping them up. And the Hex Rays have started to fall. It's funny you can see their bodies, honestly. They're the kind of unit I'd expect to kind of just disappear into the ground, like Banshees, but they don't. They do kind of just end up sitting on the ground there once they die. And the Sun Dragon and Star Dragon in the thick of it now, with the Pure Main Company and some High Elf Spearmen and the Doomfire Warlocks. And that is a horrible, horrible engagement for the Hex Rays, because Flaming Sword of Ruin was down and the Celestial Harvesters are there. That's a lot of fire and magical damage, and that means goodbye Hex Rays, crumbling into the dust. They're gone too, and that is a powerful cav unit that is off the field, and one of the dangers of bringing ethereal cavalry. But Lothar and Seaguard trying to break the doom wave of enemies, and Arkhan the Black, the Lich King, and Mortarch of Sacrament, Nagash's right hand, leading this inexorable tide of undead further, deeper and harder inside the city, straight on into the Sisters of Slaughter, with Blood Knights in support. Drakenhof Templars come to fight alongside their Lord Vlad, and as those sisters begin to waver, and they begin to run, their defense not quite enough to hold the line here, especially not against such a powerful caster and melee combatant. We're getting a little bit deeper into the maze now, into the dank, dark corners of the Forge of Vaul, the elven god of smiths, and this is where the defenders can really start making them pay for every inch of ground they try to cover, because it's going to be super hard to outflank at this point. Only 2 routes to the capture point, and a lot of angry knife ears blocking the way, and still, some of the most elite elven infantry and cav held in reserve. And it's another reason why I think it's so smart to keep your most important units held back, because a lot of the time casters and stuff like that will have blown their load early on against like spearmen and archers and cheaper stuff. It doesn't matter too much in the scheme of things. And then the big boys, like those Fireborn we just saw, can come out to play with little fear. Now, the Sisters of Avalorn want to commit Ritual Sudoku against the Tomb Guard. They're out of ammunition, and they were the first ones on the walls when the Vargheists came over the top. Got some good shots into them, but they got ripped up real early on and couldn't disengage in time. And so they felt pretty bad, and they're trying to make amends for their poor performance at the beginning of the battle. But the Casket of Souls still firing. I imagine it won't have a lot of ammunition left. Blackguard will be able to do a lot of damage to it if they can close it down, which they should be able to. But the Roomba has a little bit of mobility, could probably maybe try to escape there. Kind of sitting around for now. But actually, I think those Blackguard might be routing. And Dragon Prince is coming in from the flank, trying to get into the rear here. And this one is interesting. Now, if Teclis was anywhere near, Flaming Sword of Ruin on these Dragon Princes would destroy these Cairn Wraiths. There'd be nothing left of them in seconds. That flaming and magical damage would be amazing. But it's not going to work here because Teclis is way in the back of the map defending another part of the settlement. And so, against all this AP, I mean, Cairn Wraiths are surprisingly good against Cav. They're not a unit you want to use as a core because they're so easy to counter if someone happens to bring the right spell. But as a support unit, alongside other infantry, alongside Blood Knights or some other Cav, they can do wonders for you. Morathi, with another Soul Stealer, and actually a Purple Son Azarius from Arkhan the Black, tried to catch out those Keepers of the Flame, those Phoenix Guard Regiment of Renown, but they ran downhill, dodged the spell completely, and that is a big waste of magic from Arkhan the Black there. Defenders paying attention. That's important because a Purple Sun on top of those Phoenix Guard would have been brutal. And look at this defensive position for Phoenix Guard. I mean, their stats are insane. Absolutely incredible. And look at the position they have right now. Uphill, Tomb Guard have to fight into them. Even the special Tomb Guard, even the Regiment of Renown Tomb Guard, are not going to be able to cut through them. They have like 65 melee defense, armor piercing, amazing stats. Even when they manage to get a kill, they're going to go down and explode some more Tomb Guard on the way down. So they're going to be able to hold that choke point, maybe not indefinitely, but for a really long time. And the Necrosphinx wants none of that action, boss, because he'll get destroyed by them too. But Arkhan the Black try to summon some skeletons behind with a Tomb Blade of Arkhan, and Fireborn and the Noble just say, no thank you. Good night, sweet skellies. And just send them flying into the back of their own Phoenix Guard with a beautiful downhill charge. And this choke point is going to be incredibly hard for the Tomb Kings and the Undead, for Vlad von Carstein, the Drakenhof Templars, and all the myriad of monsters they have left to assault. It's going to be incredibly difficult because it's just that one choke point. It's that one ramp, downhill charges from Dragon Princes from the Fireborn all day long. It'll be tough. Ramparts getting destroyed by Ushabti Great Bowfire. Star Dragon looking for some kind of sneaky meal, some kind of tasty snack to munch up on. But Blood Knights charging into the back of the Dragon Princes and surrounded by Karen Race. Now that's what I meant when I said that they're really good versus Cav. We really didn't take much damage to those Dragon Princes there. That was a bad engagement for them. Those High Elves are dead. The Blood Knights were amazing right there with the rear charge. And now we've got Monster Mash 2.0. Necrosinks, the Sinks of Usek versus the Star Dragon. Two of the most powerful monsters in all of Warhammer Fantasy, in all of Total War Warhammer 2. But this is without a doubt an engagement that the Sphinx of Usek loves. This is what he's meant to do. What he's born and bred to do is kill monsters. It's really sad that there's no heroic killing blow animation, no way to like one-shot a dragon if you get really lucky, and maybe it's best that that kind of RNG doesn't exist, but I'd love to see an animation where a dragon like gets decapitated or something. It would be so fitting for those huge scything blades, but he won that 1v1 handily. Star Dragon will rout with a minimum of HP, and now back here on the ramp, Ushabti have gotten into the thick of it now. Even the Chosen the Gods, the bow unit, they've had to commit because they're out of ammunition now, and still, the Keepers of the Flame, the Silent Guardians of the Shrine of Azurian, the best halberd unit probably in the entire game. Better than Chosen, better than anything else, holding the line and kicking some serious ass there. They're not even down past half HP, like 5 minutes after beginning that engagement. Absolutely amazing stuff right there, and they will continue to put out some really powerful stuff. But Phoenix Guard and the Blades of the Blood Queen held in reserve at the final capture point, and you just take a look at the sprawling settlement, the beauty, the glory of it all. Seriously, Seysamor did an amazing job with this map, and we've still got so much of this battle left. Vlad von Carstein and his Drakenhof Templars trying to scoot and shoot around the flank to get at the capture point, but there's a lot of stuff waiting for him. Charybdis goes down to some Karen Race, and they've been used very well. Now, those Hex Race got destroyed by the Flaming Sword of Ruin, but the Karen Race have managed to only take engagements where they can't get punished by magical damage, and they've done exceptionally well because of it. The grind continues for those poor Tomb Guard. Even Executioner's waiting in reserve now, and healing going down on the Dragon Princes of Kalidor, the Fireborn, getting that regrowth. Teclis would be very smart to hold on to some more of that healing spell, and Ushabti summoned in the back here. Y'all came to the wrong neighborhood, Mother Lecco, with the Doomfire Warlocks coming in. Nobles there as well. Executioners all springing their ambush, and upon being summoned into the mortal plane, gone straight back to the Netherrealm to meet Usurian yet again. A pathetic showing from them, but not really their fault. I mean, they don't have support, and it is a good idea to summon them to try to get a rear charge into those Phoenix Guard. They just didn't have time. Fireborn and Sinesh's Harvesters descend on them and punish them incredibly heavily, and they're gone now. But the Dark Elves and High Elves no longer have range support from the top, from those walls up top to fire into the rear of the Tomb Guard, and those Phoenix Guard, the Keepers of the Eternal Flame, are definitely starting to take a beating. Very low in health now, won't be around for too much longer, and the Blood Knights and Vlad and a few more of the followers of Nagash are looking to make their final assault on the capture point, and they've got a powerful army coming up here. 2 full-strength Blood Knights, and, well, maybe not full strength. They're not full strength right now, but some Invocation of the Hack might be able to get them there if he has the Winds of Magic for it. But more than anything, I mean, those are silver and gold chevron Blood Knights. They already had a bunch of chevs, because this is a high funds game. They're going to be scary, and thank you very much, Mother Marathi, showing your true colors. We all knew what you really were, but power from darkness on top of the Keepers of the Flame, and that's going to one-shot them pretty much. Marathi's like, how do I win this battle and take down some stupid High Elves while we win? I mean, yeah, like, it'll be better if more Azur are dead for when me and Malekith try to steal back the throne. So, yeah, some betrayal right there for sure. Power from darkness on top of her own allies, and that will spell the end of the Phoenix Guard holding the choke point there. Brutal stuff, but exactly what you would expect, and honestly, should not have been used on that unit, but overall maybe worth it if it gets another Soul Stealer or something to really keep her in the fight, because she's had some great casts this battle for sure. Now, it looks like the High Elves may have to concede this side of the battlefield for now, though, and retreat further in. They have the mobility to do so. The Fireborn, Teclis, and the Noble can all escape from the rest of the Tomb Guard and the Tomb Kings that are streaming forward now. But the Blood Knights are looking to make their attack here, and Vlad spearheading the assault straight into the Guardians of Azurian with the Karen Race. That's not a bad fight for them. They're fighting downhill. Phoenix Guard not really in a great position, and they were there to plug the gap so Blood Knights couldn't get in, but Vlad and Blood Drinker in the thick of it, laying about with that Runeforged sword and chopping heads off left and right. That's what Vlad does. Vlad is a monster. He's not one of those lords that's just gonna, oh my god, dude, those Phoenix Guards swim flying like 300 feet. Amazing downhill charge from Blood Knights too, although they don't want to stick around in that fight for too long. But yeah, that's what Vlad does. I mean, he's just tanky, he's survivable, he has constant damage output. He's not going to blow you away in terms of kills, but he is going to blow you away in terms of survivability. And most Vampire Lords, if they had gone like Manfred on a zombie dragon or something right now, they wouldn't be doing well against Phoenix Guard in melee. But Vlad, he can go in there, he can wade in with the best of them and start slaying stuff for sure. But the Blood Knights are waiting in reserve, and they don't see it, I don't think, but the Fireborn are coming out of nowhere, charging from the flank, and a couple going through the walls there, because there's a little bit of janky collision, and a good charge into the flank of the Blood Knights, who did not see it coming, and the Nobles there too, and that is a problem. Vlad is there to support, but so is the High Elf Noble, and with a regrowth going down, that might just go the way of the Fireborn. Now I know, 1v1 engagement from full HP, Fireborn should be Blood Knights, but not going to be the easiest fight ever. And remember that both can be healed, and Invocation of the Heck can bring those. Yeah, there we go. So we got Spells Down, Enfeebling Foe in there as well, so that'll really limit their damage output. But Regrowth and Invocation of the Heck, both really useful spells. In terms of healing, though, only Invocation of the Heck will bring back models. So if enough IOEs go in there, or IONs go in there, then there will certainly be enough to keep the Blood Knights in the fight for a very long time, and even bring back some of the dead, which is very important. Once you've lost a model on the Fireborn, they're donezo. It's over. They're not coming back. Regrowth won't bring them back. So there's a limit to the healing from Regrowth there. But for now, that physical resist and that extra healing definitely going the way of the Fireborn, and that was a really good attack. Really impactful here. But Balance Bar's still dead even. We're 35 minutes into a siege battle almost, and it still could go either way easily. And the Tomb Guard, the Tomb Kings, Arkhan the Black, and the Necrosphinx, the big daddy Sphinx of Usek, coming in. Same with the Necrotect on a chariot, pulling in, charging around, laying about with that pimp whip, running away and summoning some skellies as well. And that's gonna make it really hard for these Azure Spearmen to plug the gap here, because Skeleton Spearmen, or Skeletons, will get into the back, force them to turn around, and allow the rest of the army to charge in. So, instead, Azure Spearmen run away from the Skeletons and go into the choke point to try to defend there, where they can get all their enemies coming at them from one direction, and that might just work out pretty well and get some extra utility out of this unit that would normally have just gotten absolutely eviscerated in this engagement. Even still, though, it's going to be really tough with the Necrotech charging in from behind, still in that chariot, and another Flames of the Phoenix. Beautiful cast from Teclis going through the Skeletons. Not doing that much damage, though. Not really the width of formation you really like to see when you cast that spell, and didn't do massive amounts, but with the support of the Big Daddy Sphinx, those High Elf Spearmen, not long for this world, and it looks like they've already routed. So near the capture point, this is where the battle will be decided. Blood Knights still fighting. Even the Roomba, even the Casket of Souls with no ammunition left, has moved into melee to try to stem the tide of the Fireborn here. Word of Pain going down to the Blood Knights, and with the Doomfire Warlocks supporting those Fireborn, the Elves are taking a very good cav fight and really making it hard for the Vampire counts to push further inside the city. But Vlad is still around, and he's still laying about, and you can see that some of those High Elf units have dropped very, very low, and more of the Tomb Kings are streaming forward now. Arkhan the Black is still around, and they're going to look to try to cap this point. Only Blades of the Blood Queen, to be fair, one of the best infantry units in the entire game, holding the line. Marathi with very little HP left and probably very little Winds of Magic, although she might have maybe one more power from Darkness to maybe get one powerful cast off to maybe turn the tide, but a downhill charge from the Ushabti into the Blades of the Blood Queen, and this is not really the fight they want to take. They're infantry blunders. They're meant to munch through hundreds upon hundreds of Skeleton Warriors or Tomb Guard, but against Ushabti, against large units, they've got the AP, certainly. They've got the weapon strength, but is it really the fight they want to take? Not really, especially if the Necrosphinx decides to charge downhill and get into them as well. And this will just be brutal fighting. It will be catastrophic fighting for both sides. You can see that the Ushabti Greybows are dropping like flies. So are the Executioners. Lots of their heads rolling on the ground and kind of finding purchase on the ground here. It's brutal fighting for sure. And Morathi going after Arkhan the Black, the Mortarch of Sacrament. Turn around and fight your hater, the one who's trying to bring you down, to bring you low. And a duel here, it's going to be so important. And Morathi, she has that bonus for Lord, she has that AP. And Arkhan the Black, the little squishy bony nerd, was nothing to the beauty of the Dark Queen, the Hag Sorceress of Gron, making short work of Arkhan the Black. He falls, and that's a big leadership loss for the Tomb Kings here. Vlad, still full HP after fighting all those Phoenix Guard. He literally does not care, running away from them because he's like, you guys are wasting my time. I've got a more important fight over here, trying to get into the back of the Fireborn. But the Doomfire Warlocks, the Senescence Harvesters, have been so impactful as this battle wore on. They had some bounce spells early, they've used them all up, Soul Stealer already went down, and instead, their melee prowess is really showing. They're light cab, but they've got good stats. They're not particularly tanky, although they do have that 45% physical resist, but they're certainly a unit that can go toe-to-toe with a lot of the other units that remain on the field right now. They don't want to fight Vlad, but these Executioners still holding for now, but they are painting the ground crimson and making a worthy sacrifice for their god at Hotek's Column, at Vaul's Anvil, the Forge of Vaul. Can they hold the line? Can they do it? Can the Elves hold back the tides of the Undead? It's been such close fighting the entire battle, and now it's coming to a head right here. The tip of the iceberg, as it were, and we've got Phoenix Guard holding the line against Vlad, remnants of skeletons, remnants of the rest of the Undead. Vlad von Carstein with Blood Drinker, killing the Noble. Word of Pain down on him, though, and that will severely limit his damage output as the Noble and those AP units continue to cycle some damage in. But a fiery convocation from Teclis, sending Masonry plummeting to the ground below, smashing a few unlucky warriors in the process. Sphinx of Usag has fallen. You see its body on the ground there, rendered inert and meaningless in the face of the Fireborn charge, but so few of them left now, so few left to continue their legacy, and even fewer will remain by the time this battle is all said and done, win or lose. Queen of Incest and Sulafet, they're gonna flee in the face of Chad von Carstein, wielder of the sword Biggest Dickus. None can match his fury, but the Blades of the Blood Queen did their duty, and with a bony sacrifice to Cain, god of femurs and tibias, the Necrotect is laying about with his pimp whip right now. His Vorpal whip goes snicker snack, leaves them dead, and with their heads comes Golumphing back. But can a Necrotect really be expected on a chariot, even with that great chariot, be expected to cycle charge that many elite infantry into oblivion with no support? I think he'd be better off coming up top to help out Vlad, who's making his stand here. I mean, he's still killing Phoenix Guard, but there are a lot of models left. Now, in the scheme of things, the Elves are battered, they are bloodied, they're pretty much broken. I mean, this is Pyrrhic to the fullest extent of the definition, but Vlad's by himself now. There's nothing. Balance bar is starting to shift. The Necrotect is not in a good spot, just ran straight into Sulafet and Morathi, and she's pretty good at pimp slapping nerds here. And the Necrotect, certainly more of a Chad than Arkhan the Black, but can he really be expected to hold the line? Can he really do this? Can he really kill all that remains? He's crumbling, he's disintegrating, he's gone, chariot explodes. Vlad is all that remains of the Undead army, and with that, we can put the nail in the coffin. He falls to his knees, screams to his god, and he'll probably get resurrected by Nagash in like a couple days anyway, so not a big deal. The thing about the Undead forces, especially when Shaiish is rising and the wind of death blows strong from the poles of the planet, you can bring back that entire army with the flick of a switch. Usirian and Nagash will be working overtime a bit, but they're going to be back to full strength in no time. But for now, the Elves have defended their most important settlement that remains in this alternate universe. Nagarand has fallen, Lothern has fallen, and what a battle that was. Epic. Insanity. All the way to the final capture point. You can see the kills here now. Some crazy stuff from a lot of really good units. And that kind of battle is just quintessential Warhammer for me. It's why I love doing this kind of thing. It's why I do what I do. It's not every day, I can organize a battle like that. Thank you again to Dino, Gojira, and Professor Pone for joining me for that one. I mean, it was just amazing, dude. Amazing map. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.